Okay, now this might sound very basic, but one of my biggest use cases for voice notes is logging things. I'll give you some examples. Like, I'll give you 5 examples out of the many things that I log. Those are like drinking, weight, happiness, running, baby feeding. Yeah, I log all of those things, and I'll tell you why. Before that, I'll tell you the difference that I see between, you know, logging about running, and calling it running logs versus just tagging it as running. What's the difference, right? So the thing about, just running or not taking about just about running is that it's for your generic thoughts about running, or if you came across a sort of book highlight or something about running, that's where it goes, right? Like, just generate running tag. Whereas with running logs, you only do it after the activity, like after you run or something, and you would log your the distance that you ran, where you ran, how you felt while running, and any other additional context that you want to add, or you want to sort of note about your running. And that's the key difference between sort of logging something versus just note taking about a subject. And yeah, so I'll quickly walk through some of my top logging subjects. So design logs. So whenever I design something new, I tend to add that to a tag called design logs. So it sounds very generic. I also tag it with the things that I'm designing it about, what the design is about. So there's that context, but I also just tag them as design logs simply because it allows me to sort of look back and pick up where I left off in terms of my my design thinking. And two, when I log a design, something that I've done, I try to log that immediately to be in that headspace, mind space, whatever you want to call it, and sort of talk about what I was, how I approach that problem and how I arrived at that solution, sort of thing, and any other observations that I want to note down. So when I designed this landing page of Voicenotes, which you have seen, right, like the simple one, the bullet point, the simple, very text-only design, right? I took a very large note about how I thought about that design. And every time I felt distracted and I want to change that design, I would go back to it, and it gave me some sort of confirmation that it's good for now. Not anymore, I'm changing that, it has evolved, but it allows me to get into that mind space where I designed that thing. And also things like design logs, or if you're logging any project, it allows you to see how productive you were or how well you are doing at a certain point in time. And also what allowed you to do that. Maybe there's an environment, maybe you're getting a coffee at some place and then you start designing this thing, or you can sort of observe things like, oh, I tend to design in the mornings after a coffee before I talk to anyone or check the internet or emails. So things like that, that might be helpful for you. So weight logs. So weight logging is something that I did with an app. It's called Weight Diary Lite. It's an app that I used for many years, but I thought, I just log the weight on that app, so I can do that on Voicenotes as well with more context. I can add more additional context to my weight logging if I do that on Voicenotes. So I just started doing that on Voicenotes, and it's much better now. There's nothing more to it. I just note down my weight. I have a goal, but I'm not too worried about it really. Another thing that I found really helpful is my drinking logs. So I log when I drink. I'm not trying to be sober or anything. I like my drink from time to time, but I have a tendency to to be intense about things, So if I discover a new drink or a bourbon or something like Woodford Reserve, I tend to go all in and make it a habit or something. So I try to cut down on drinks. So I started taking logs whenever I drink. So I would log things like, hey, how much I drank, how many units of alcohol I drank, how I felt, when was I drinking alone, and did I feel horrible or did I feel great, did I guilty it after that, things like that. And I've noticed that I've started drinking less ever since I started logging it more. I log every day I drink these days, which is once or twice a week, but I do that and it helps. I also have this thing called happiness logs. I have a short form tag for it, which is called HLogs, HLOGS, which is basically when I feel happy and, good. When I feel good, I record a note. I talk about how I feel and my environment, and it really helps me when I'm feeling down. I look back on my happiness logs and try to see what was happening there and what I'm missing, and it helps me tremendously. Maybe this is not something that works for everyone, but it does work for me. The same thing with productivity logs. So when I'm creating something, when I'm in a flow, I tend to log that as well. And I've observed things like, I'm usually in a flow when I've decided not to work, usually on the weekends. When I've decided not to work and be free, that's when I'm usually in the flow and actually do some work. So these are the things that I've observed, because I do log when I'm productive as well. And I have a tag which is named PLOGS, which is like productivity logs sort of thing. This all might sound very silly, but okay. From silly to something really helpful, feeding logs. So after we had baby, how you have to feed baby every 2 to 3 hours, and you have to watch how much you're feeding, and you have to make sure that baby gets enough food in a day, right? So we used to text each other. Alicia and I used to text each other whenever we feed, and we would log things like how much the baby fed and was the baby fed, and whether there was any spit up, or how often that happened, things like that. And now we use voice notes for that, and it allows us to sort of track how much the baby drank in a full day, how often, and things like babies, if baby is gaining enough weight and things like that. So logging really did help. So the thing about baby feeding logs, the reason why I pointed that out is because there's no app for that. I haven't seen any app for like logging how much the baby has been fed or things like that with additional context. So I'm pretty sure you might have unique use cases in your life where there are not apps built for that. Unlike weight loss and running, where there are many apps for running and weight, which does a better job than logging on voice notes. But I'm pretty sure that you have many unique use cases where there are no apps for that. So you just create a tag on voice notes, you start logging whenever you do it, you add additional context. Eventually you will know what is more helpful to know, so you'll add those more of that, and hopefully it helps. It does help me. Oh, another fun log that I go back to often is small wins. So whenever someone compliment me, or I make some sort of achievement, or just small wins, that's it. I just log my small wins, and it makes me feel good to go back to it and sort of review them. That's one interesting logging that I do. All right, I hope this helps. I've been getting a lot of requests to do use cases of voice notes, and this is going to be the first of many, I think. I would love to hear if you have been doing this, and if you have an interesting use case, interesting or not, just if you have any sort of logging going on, we would love to hear it, and I'm sure others would find it useful as well. And thank you for watching.